With the age of everyone trying to sell their bodies online, the stigma behind corn and corn addiction has seemed to vanish. It almost feels like everyone kind of forgot that it exists and that you could become addicted to corn. And when I say corn, I can't really say the actual word, but you'll probably infer what I mean by base like the title. I'll just refer to the title. And today's video we're going to be reacting to is the 6 dangerous stages of corn addiction. um, this is going to be a shorter video, so I'm really expecting a lot of participation from you guys, what you think about all this. And I know it's a little bit more mature topic, but based on my data and analytics on this channel, pretty much everybody is old enough to have this conversation. We're definitely on, I wouldn't say older, but we're definitely in the 20 plus. So have we, oh man, I have so many questions, but let me pose this first one. Have we forgotten that this could become a problem? Anyway, let's watch this video.
Most people watch porn at some point in their lives, but when does watching porn cross the line and become an addiction? Our desire for connection and
True.
validation is human, but consuming pornography, especially to the point of addiction, becomes a slippery slope. What starts as a seemingly harmless activity can have destructive, long-term psychological and physiological
It
consequences.
can
Here are
actually.
6 dangerous stages of porn addiction. Stage 1. Initial exposure. Your curiosity about porn likely starts innocently, and you might stumble upon it by accident. You might come across sexually explicit content through movies, social media, pop-up ads, friends, and peer pressure as well.
And it's even when I was a kid, it wasn't even like in the pop-up ads on much, but it's now everywhere. Like you can't, like I kind of feel bad for the youth and kids these days, because with them having access to phones and like just technology, it's a dangerous, it's just so sad that they're almost like they're like landmines that are just waiting to be stepped on, and these kids are gonna get just, they're gonna get exposed to all of this so quickly.
Studies show that about 93% of boys and 62% of girls are exposed to porn before the age of 18,
Yeah.
often unintentionally through online platforms. At first, it feels like a harmless peek into something that
Which, by the way, if you're under 18, I should have made this clear in the beginning. This is not for you. This channel is not for you. We all know this.
seems forbidden. However, this initial exposure lays the groundwork for further consumption, as your brain's reward system releases dopamine in response to the arousal.
So
The
it's
brain
crack.
starts to associate sexual pleasure with these images or videos, thereby creating a desire to revisit them. Stage 2. Regular consumption. Porn consumption is a spectrum, but when does it become problematic? What constitutes this addiction is your need to explore various types of content in this new world you've been exposed to. In this stage, what started as curiosity now becomes a regular habit. It is
Yeah.
no longer something you stumble upon. It's something you seek out regularly. It either becomes part of your daily routine or a way to escape boredom, stress, or difficult emotions.
I think I think the amount of people who made it part of the routine is actually, it's actually very dangerous, because it's like I don't know. I have mixed feelings on corn. Um I do think it's fine if you're an adult, obviously, but it's just one of those things where like if you're like 5, 6 times a day, like that's, you got to get some help. It's too much.
They might justify this by thinking everyone does it, unaware that their consumption is steadily increasing. At this
Hmm.
stage, the brain develops tolerance. Much like substance abuse, you may need to watch more or increasingly explicit content to feel the same level of excitement. A
Yeah.
2007 study by Dr. Norman Doidge found that overconsumption of porn rewires the brain's neural pathways, making the individual crave more extreme content over time. Are you
Or not even more extreme. Like I think one of the things is like you'd see these people who were extreme corn addicts, right? And they finally like get a life partner and they don't need to consume it as much, or like they start waning off of it, right? But because their tolerance was so high to what the dopamine that they're feeling when they actually participate in the act of uh, um, sex, they just don't get the same feeling. So it's like even if you can like temper it off, taper off of it, you still feel the effects of just not being as satisfied from an experience that traditionally should be satisfying you. So let's this might seem extreme, but there's still an extreme to it if you're not even at this level.
Are you finding this video helpful? Help us by hitting a like,
Drop a
sharing your
like on these
thoughts on this
guys,
topic, and share with
which by the way, the video is always going to be linked in the description. So yeah.
someone who may need it. Stage 3. Problematic consumption. As the addiction deepens, the effects begin to creep into other aspects of life.
Yep.
This is where porn starts to interfere with daily life. You might find yourself late to work because of late night viewing, or start neglecting personal responsibilities. The escape that porn provided begins to dominate your thoughts, and you might even isolate yourself from friends or family. Statistics show that about 56% of divorce cases involve one partner having an obsessive interest in pornographic websites. For example, a college student might skip studying for exams or fail to complete assignments on time because they spent hours consuming porn. This is dangerous because it's no longer just about satisfying curiosity or sexual desire. It has become a full-blown coping mechanism that harms your relationships and ability to function normally. Stage 4. Dependence.
Which this stage right here is, it's what rewards. This is what I guess social media um this is the phase in which social media gets rewarded. That's what I'm trying to say, because you're dependent on it. So they just blast your feed with these models, and they just make the engagement, the ads, it's just ridiculous.
At this point, porn consumption turns into a compulsive behavior. Even when you want to stop, you can't seem to resist the urge. You spend an increasing amount of time thinking about it, seeking opportunities to watch, and planning when you can get your next fix. For example, you might start avoiding social events or important meetings because you feel a constant urge to watch porn. Even in moments of guilt or regret, you find yourself returning to the same behavior. But it gets worse. The preoccupation with porn can dominate your day, disrupting your focus and pulling you away from important aspects of your life. You might find yourself feeling anxious, irritable, or restless if you can't watch it. This stage represents a shift from occasional viewing to needing porn to feel normal.
And you know what's crazy? I want to throw this out there. The people that, which by the way, I just want to make this clear. They're and you just hear what I'm about to say entirely. People think that video games can't be an addiction because for some reason we never really studied it. But I think in the next 10 to 15 years, we will see that video games can become an addiction, because I've seen countless kids like suffer from it through friends. Their kids had to actually get actual help to stop playing video games because they use it so much as a coping mechanism. But I say that to say that when you see these kids who were addicted to video games when they were kids become adults, typically something like this is right next to it. So they're not typically, or I guess even vice versa. So if they're dealing with a corn addiction, there's a high likelihood that they're also dealing with another addiction such as video game addiction. So there's two very, at least that's the one I know most common, that are paired together. Is because they're inside all the time, they're playing video games, they don't really have any side type of social life. So then this tends to link in, and then so they just like they're not really suffering from just one addiction. They're dealing with two of them. So eh, I'm not trying to scare anybody to say like, oh my god, I can't believe this person I know has this. Maybe they have multiple addictions. It's just, you would be you shouldn't be surprised if that is actually the case when it comes to these things.
Additionally, this compulsive need can lead to other issues such as sexual dysfunction. A
Yeah,
2016
we talked
study
about
found
it.
that
Yeah.
young men who consumed large amounts of porn were significantly more likely to experience erectile dysfunction or
Yeah.
premature ejaculation during real-life encounters. This is because their brains became so accustomed to artificial stimulation that they struggled with real-life intimacy. Stage 5. Desensitization. One of the most destructive aspects of porn addiction is desensitization.
That not one of the, I would say the most, when it comes to a society and the country as a whole, because we're the exposure, everyone's just normalized it, kind of devalues, like for example, women. It's like modern feminism is fighting for the women to go back to the brothels, but it's like, no, the women who were in the brothels back in the day fought to get out of it. So it's like, it's just crazy what desensitization does to to your cause.
At this stage, the content that once excited you no longer has the same effect. As tolerance builds, the usual content no longer excites or arouses you as it once did. This leads to seeking out more extreme and potentially disturbing content to achieve the same level of satisfaction. Unfortunately, this escalation often causes you to push your boundaries, leading some to watch content that goes against your values, or worse, seek illegal or morally condemnable
Going.
content. For example,
Dog's going crazy. Going.
switching from softcore porn to violent or degrading porn just to achieve the same level of satisfaction.
Which I don't want to be the it's all evil. No, I mean the people got fetishes that exist outside of this, by the way. I think fetishization is fun, or not fetishization. I mean, like, people have fetishes. I think people, as long as you're not hurting anybody and it's completely legal, it's fine. Like, it's not a big deal. But so for those who are going to comment like that's not the same, that's fair. I think that I agree with you. But what I think this video is trying to say is, when somebody who naturally would have never ever been interested in this is only becoming interested in this because of the addiction that they have. So there's very different things.
You might feel disturbed by the type of content you're consuming, but your need for more extreme stimulation outweighs those feelings.
Exactly.
Stage 6. Crisis points. This is
Ooh.
rock bottom. At this stage, the consequences of porn addiction become catastrophic. Your relationships are often destroyed. Your self-esteem is at an all-time low, with an abysmal career or academic performance. You may feel trapped, ashamed, and powerless to stop, despite knowing the harm it's causing. A professional might lose your job because you were caught
You're
watching porn
fired.
at work. Or if you're in a relationship, you could struggle with severe relationship problems because you can no longer be intimate with your partner. All of these contribute to severe feelings of guilt, shame, and hopelessness, leading to depression or anxiety. It is only at this point that people tend to seek therapy.
And you know what's crazy? I wanted to put, I should have said this in the beginning of the video, but this is where I'm going to make a claim here. And I know I don't make bold claims because 99% of the time I don't know what I'm talking about. But I think because a lot of the corn addiction that is studied through men, it's much easier. This is one of the few times I think men get the advantage of finding help. Because most of the studies done through corn addiction are typically men, because we're the most likely to suffer from it. It's easier to have a conversation about it. But I think there's a lot of women, okay, especially those shy and more awkward types, introverted women, who might have this addiction but aren't able to recognize that they do, because there's no real conversation of women having it, but also women having it and it be bad. Whereas like men, like, not saying we talk about it every day, but like there's media, there's content that helps men recognize that this is a bad thing, and it's coming from other men saying, like, there's people like talking about it, right? Like, oh, there's tons of YouTube videos about this, like, oh, I had this severe problem, maybe you do too, right? But there's a lot of women who don't even think that this could happen to them, right? Or this is happening to them. And I challenge a lot of introverted women that maybe to examine, like, is this something that you're going through? Because there's a lot of women who suffer from this, get in relationships and don't know what's wrong, and they don't even know where to start because they never knew that they could have something like this. Now, I'm not saying women should go out and self-diagnose themselves. I think that's the worst thing you can do. But I do think that when it comes to problems that exist in the world, oftentimes we like to attribute things that actually don't affect you, when things like this, that we take personal actions every day, could actually be affecting you. Especially women who have high sexual drives and tend to be isolated. There's a high likelihood that this is an issue, and I wonder how many of them have recognized that this could be. So, just something to say. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong. I actually think I'm valid.
Or rehabilitation. Research has shown that chronic porn addiction can change the brain structure in a way that is similar to those seen in substance abuse disorders. These changes significantly affect their decision-making, self-control, and emotional regulation, thereby leading to anger management issues. Porn addiction is not just a harmless habit or a casual indulgence. Its effects ripple through your mind, body, and life, taking over your thoughts and behaviors in ways that can be difficult to reverse. If you find yourself moving down this path, please know that you're not alone, and there's no shame in reaching out for help.
There is no shame. I think when it comes to any type of addiction, there's no shame. And what's crazy? I don't want to say that any addiction is easy to fix, but I think that with this one specifically, there's a lot of resources online. Um, I'm not going to link any because I haven't vetted any of them, so I wouldn't know. But there's a lot of resources online that allow you to see how, like, what you need to do, like what you, because like I think in the way I see it is, if you could, I think we all should cut back anyway on something like this, on corn in general, just because I think it's healthier. Consuming less isn't going to hurt you, whereas consuming more will. So it's like one of those things where, like, it's always, try to cut back and see what happens. If you feel like you can't, and it's just super dramatic, that's a sign that something's wrong's going on. Like for me, example, I'm going to be a little transparent. I've cut back a lot because I'm losing weight. I want to time that I could have spent be doing that. I want to invest it in something more productive. Not saying that it was destroying my life and I didn't have time for anything, and nor was it an addiction, but I still took the initiative to say, hey, maybe this is like time that I could be spending doing something else, like, or doing my sit-ups for the day, doing my push-ups for the day. Um, because as I'm becoming more busy, I have less time. So it's just saying, like, you don't, it doesn't need to be deep to show progress, but I also think we need to have a serious conversation on where we at when it comes to this. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Is this an interesting video? Do you want more of these kind of topics where we challenge ourselves? I don't want to say challenge each other because we don't know each other, but maybe challenge ourselves to see what we think about all this. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Love you guys. Check it out next one. Bye bye. This video is brought to you actually by viewers like you. Thank you so much for subscribing and being part of my journey and allowing me to be a part of yours. Let's create new memories this 2025 on our road to 1 million subscribers. And with all that jazz out of the way, I just want to say thank you so much. I love y'all and enjoy the video.